but we're going to start with a good game here in the city of brotherly love. We're beginning where the week ends, actually, with the Eagles playing host to the Vikings as 2-point home favorites on Monday Night Football. Denny, both these teams gave us pretty much everything we wanted in week one.
Yeah.
Lots of fantasy points, lots of really big time performances, lots of like confirmation bias on like summer stuff we were into. But we'll begin with the Eagles and perhaps the one area of uncertainty. I don't know why I gave you such a boring topic to begin the show. Did we see enough from Miles Sanders to begin treating him as an RB2? Because that was something in the rankings this week. I have him ranked as like a solid RB2. I think a lot of people still don't. And I kind of just don't know where to begin with this Eagles backfield. It's the one thing I kind of had questions about still coming out of that game against the Lions.
Well, yeah, and I appreciate you giving me the most boring running back in the NFL to talk about. But nevertheless, Miles Sanders led all Philadelphia running backs in expected points last week. He led in routes, carries, snaps. He saw 3 touches inside the 10-yard line, which is very important. Obviously, that actually turned into a touchdown. I mean, incredible. Like we actually got it.
Never been done.
But Boston Scott was also scored a touchdown for those who were not aware. And Kenny Gainwell was involved in not just in strict passing down situations, but sometimes on first and second down. So I think it's looking up probably for Miles Sanders, but I do think that it's hard to get excited about any sort of ceiling in this offense, especially with Jalen Hurts taking so much of the rushing opportunity and this offense, probably running through AJ Brown.
Did you guys know Boston Scott got a tutty, by the way? Kerrane and Kyle, did you guys know that? I actually kind of forgotten that.
I watched Gainwell, right? Gainwell scored 2. Jalen Hurts scored on the ground as well. And all of them were red zone / closer to the goal line, like maybe from 5 yards out at the farthest or 6 yards out. So it wasn't even like, red zone, but he got a long run from the 17 or whatever. Every single back got work around the 5-yard line. Well,
since no one wants to talk more about Miles Sanders, Kyle, I will throw to you to the pass catchers where I said there were no questions, but that's not really true. We got, the confirmation bias we really wanted with AJ Brown, that he was the best player in Eagles camp. He was taking over this offense. He had the second most yards in the NFL in week one. Dallas Goedert had a decent game. Devontae Smith did not have a good game. What is there to kind of latch onto behind the seeming settled matter of AJ Brown as the Eagles' runaway number 1 target?
Yeah, the confirmation bias was great. I was victory lapping AJ Brown, and then, close friends and family would say, well, didn't you also kind of like Devonta Smith? And I'd say, well, yeah, but I drafted a lot of AJ Brown. So let's not, dig too much into the details. The thing was, obviously, it looks like they ran the ball a ton. Jalen Hurts got 17 attempts, but 9 of those per Pro Football Focus were scrambles, which are obviously designed passing plays. So they actually had a slightly positive pass rate over expectation, which is sort of my foundation for having some sort of hope that Devonta Smith and Dallas Goedert can eventually become, more consistent. I mean, literally Devonta Smith got goose egged, 0 catches on 4 targets. We didn't see a ton of receiving volume. I believe it was 4 targets, 3 catches, and something like 60 yards for Goddard as well. He was just efficient on the same amount of volume. And AJ Brown's the stud. So I think AJ Brown, you're playing him every week as probably a wide receiver 1, because they did lean towards being pass heavier. It just kind of worked out in a weird way that the Lions actually got pressure, right? Which I think wasn't quite expected. As long as he's not getting pressured, at a 40% clip, I think we should expect more passing volume, but that's great for AJ Brown. It still doesn't leave us with a ton of volume for Devonta Smith for Dallas Goedert. I think Devonta Smith is flex worthy. He got 4 targets on a passing attack that I want to be buying into. Dallas Goedert plays a position that's weak, but I don't feel great about them. I totally accept that I could get goose egged again any week. And AJ Brown, just alpha stud. He was been elite every year he was in Tennessee. Now he's commanding volume like we've never seen before. So you're playing him every week, and there's just no question he's like a top 10 guy.
Is Devontae Smith good?
I think he's good, right? He was elite in his final season at college.
Crane's making a face. I want to hear someone kind of dump on him.
He's good, right? The problem is he plays next to someone who's great, and that's not perfect when you play on an offense.
He didn't last year.
And he was all right last year.
He was fine.
Yeah, he was fine. I think he was kind of in a range where it's like it could go either way year 2, but generally the type of guy I do think you want to make breakout bets on, because the upside's pretty high as a first round pick. But probably the biggest thing we get fooled by year after year after year is final season college production for non-early declare wide receivers. And his was so good. He won the Heisman. So it's like, I think you do want to factor it in, but like he should have been a rookie in the NFL that year. and he got a lot of bump in terms of draft position and NFL draft hype because of that final college season. I think you think about him more as like, what if he came in to the NFL and as a second round pick and had a pretty good rookie season? I don't know if we'd be quite as hyped about him as we were, but yeah, I think he's probably, I do agree with Kyle. I think he's probably pretty good. It's just, I don't think he's got any chance against AJ Brown. AJ Brown's a superstar. AJ Brown might be like the best wide receiver in the league. Like, he's so good. So, being pretty good is not necessarily going to stand up to that.
Yeah, I wanted to believe that Devontae Smith was a model breaker, but I probably should have just paid more attention to Kerrane last offseason. Because you weren't like a truther on Devontae. I don't think you were saying he was like an auto bust, but you were hitting a lot of the salient points. Yeah. You hit all the salient points just made.
At the time,
instantly
remember, right. When it came in, people were saying, I don't know. To me, it's Smith over Chase, because of this season. And that type of stuff where, like, you can get in a big, big, big trouble if you don't factor in the context of, which years these guys are doing it.
Also, they move AJ Brown around the formation and like scheme him open, and they leave Devontae Smith on the outside and be like, good luck out there. Like, you're going to have to work for these targets. And I just he's going to have to like really, really do well to earn consistent targets in this offense with an alpha like AJ Brown there. And I don't think you can, 12-team leagues. I think you're trying to find someone else to start.
I think that's sadly correct. Kerrane, what do we do with the Vikings? Things went to plan. Justin Jefferson dominated. Kirk Cousins looked good. Dalvin Cook got the work and the usage, just not quite the touchdowns. But what do we do with the Vikings pass catchers who aren't named Justin Jefferson? Irv Smith, horrible game. I believe a donut. They said it was like game plan related, but I feel like you get left out of the game plan if you're not good.
Yeah.
And what happened with Adam Thielen? Just what are we thinking behind Justin Jefferson and this Viking skill core?
Yeah, so I think if you think about what we were hoping for the Vikings, they generally delivered. They had a 4% pass rate over expected, which was in line with where the Packers were last season. But I don't think we're going to get this Vikings team that's like ultra aggressive in terms of their passing volume. It'll be a boost from where they were with Mike Zimmer, where they were very much a run-heavy team. But I still don't think we're going to have like a ton of passing volume. And therefore, the guy who's going to benefit by far the most is Justin Jefferson. Joey McFarland was talking about how, he was schemed against linebackers and safeties at a much, much higher rate than he was last year, which was the goal, which was the hope with Justin Jefferson. As some people were taking him ahead of Kupp in best ball drafts with the idea that, he's kind of a younger, better player that's now going to get this same schemed up touches and targets that the Kupp was benefiting so much from. So far through 1 week, that is the case. And I think Jefferson just profiles as an absolute smash this year. When you look at Adam Thielen, we talked about last year how he's basically a tight end. And that's kind of what he is now. He ran a route on 100% of dropbacks, so that's nice. But, he went 3 for 36. I think he'll have a red zone role. He's an underneath guy, 7.7 ADOT. It's very, very similar to last year, I think. I wouldn't expect a big boost for him. The overall offense, again, not going to be super pass heavy. So he's kind of what he has been, a touchdown dependent, kind of underneath option. The actual tight end, Irv Smith, I think is a straight up drop. He ran around on 42% of dropbacks. Johnny Munt had 48%. They had, I just don't see how. Like, the whole case for Irv Smith was that he is going to be in an every down role. We've never really seen him be super efficient as a pass catcher. He's not in an every down role. He's not even in a full-time role. He's below rosterable, I think, unless you really believe in Irv Smith and you want to, treat this as a 1 week fluke and you're hoping he'll be back at 65-70% next week. That's certainly possible. But for me, I would be turning him out for a tight end like Juwan Johnson or something who ran 80% of the routes. But yeah, I've never really been a big believer in Irv, so maybe there's a bias there.
Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBC Sports and Rotoworld.com. Just want to thank you so much for watching what you just watched, or at least being too lazy to click out of it after the autoplay just kept it going. So either way, thank you so much for just letting it scroll by your screen. And now I'd like to ask you respectfully, please subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel for the latest NFL news, fantasy headlines from Rotoworld, and betting analysis from NBC Sports Edge.